Hello, everybody. Welcome back to VO in Stereo. I'm your host, Stephen Coghill, along with Jared Breshers.
Hello.
Psych, I'm Jared Bresher. That's Stephen Coghill. Today, we have a very special guest. He spans quite a bit of the voiceover industry. Please help me welcome professional voice talent and professional voice business coach. He just also happens to be the OG VOpreneur and host of the VOpreneur podcast, Marc Scott.
Woo! Now that's an
Thanks, guys.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much for being here, man. I really appreciate your time. I really do.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Well, I'll kick it over to Stephen, let him get us kicked off with questions. And then, God, your studio is just beautiful.
Very nice. I love love that orange.
I got to keep my shoulder, because there's some stuff piled back in there right now. So I got to just keep my shoulder positioned appropriately. So it looks like it's clean all the time.
Nice.
How dare you be human?
Well, welcome to the show. Thank you for making it on to for our beautiful broadcast today. I have my first question, which is my first question to everyone, is where were you born? Where'd you grow up?
In a tiny little town in southern Ontario, Canada, about an hour and a half-ish southwest of Toronto. A little place called Selkirk is where I spent the first 30 some odd years of my life. I'm not even 100% sure.
I see.
That was where I was from originally. One of those little miss it in a blink towns with a population of about 500 people or so.
So you must have had fun as a kid.
Yeah, back in the day when you were still allowed to do stuff like that, still have fun, when you went out and you came home when it was dark and stuff like that. I remember those days. Those were good days.
Ooh, I remember if you got in trouble down the street, you got in trouble 3 times before you got your real whipping when you got home because everybody knew each other.
That's right.
Good times.
So did you have brothers and sisters?
I have one sister.
And were you guys like creative growing up, or did that how did that develop?
I am not remotely creative whatsoever.
Now, come on, now. I don't believe that.
No, I really am not. That's why I teach the business side of voiceover and not the performance side of voiceover, because I am just I'm not a creative guy. But if there's a way to monetize something, I could probably figure that out.
Well, wait a second. Aren't you a voice talent though?
I am a voice talent, but I'm a unique in the sense that for a lot of voice actors, they are creatives by nature, right? They are actors. They are those, kids that took drama school or drama class and all that sort of stuff, right? I did not do any of that stuff at all.
Wow.
And so I have found the only thing that has saved my butt in this industry is my ability to run a business and just hustle for it. And then obviously working really hard on the coaching side myself, from the performance coaching side, to be able to actually deliver the goods, because contrary to popular belief, radio doesn't help you in voiceover at all. It's actually like the worst possible thing that you could come from. Like I've said before that I would have had an easier time transitioning into voiceover had I been previously employed as a farmer than coming as a radio guy.
Yeah. Studying that radio announcing voice, and then they go, no, we're not looking for that anymore. And you're like, what?
We don't want that. Yeah.
Damn, I've been practicing that all my life.
We just want you to be conversational. But what does that mean?
Exactly. How do I do that? Well, we're getting ahead of ourselves. So you grew up in Canada and you had a sister and you were very creative. So you did nothing in creative in school? You were just a normal kind of kid in school, or how did that go?
Well, I didn't go to school a lot, particularly in high school. Particularly in high school.
Bravo, my friend, bravo.
I missed a lot of high school. I may or may not have spent it at my friend's house, like shooting pool in his basement and stuff like that. Never got caught. I don't think in all of my years of high school that I ever got caught skipping. That's awesome. Despite the fact that I'm pretty sure I was away more than I was present. But so yeah, maybe we shouldn't talk about school.
They weren't missing you there. Apparently. Yeah. They just weren't looking for you at all.
My mom's not going to be listening to this or watching this. Is she?
I don't know. Everyone, stay in school. Please stay in school, everyone.
That's right, because otherwise you'll end up like me.
You might be digging ditches. Who knows? It's terrible.
We can't make you that promise.
No. The world is a cruel mistress.
So you were in any sports or anything in high school? Like, I mean, you weren't there at school. But like, what were, like you said, pool and hanging out with your friends? Was that kind of like what you did? Was there anything you were into other than hanging out? Anything spike your interest? Like,
I did not.
The radio type thing.
I did not have any athletic ability whatsoever. I still do not have any athletic ability, but I knew from a very young age that I wanted to do radio. I thought from a very young age, I determined that Casey Kasem had the best job in the world because, as far as I knew, he only worked 4 hours a week. And he was like, and so he was worldwide famous, and so he obviously had to be rich. And so that, and I'm like, that was legitimately it for me. And so from a very young age, I knew I wanted to do that. So when I was younger, growing up in my church, I was the sound guy in the church, right? So I was always running the mixing consoles and all that sort of stuff. When I got into high school, where they had a 300-year-old like trainer mixing console that was like the size of an army tank, I used to, if I did show up for school, then I would do all of the assemblies and everything that gave me an excuse to get out of class, because I would have to go run the sound system.
Smart.
And I was doing that sort of stuff because I assumed that's the stuff that you needed to do to ultimately get into radio, as opposed to like getting my butt handed to me playing football or something. So I just skipped that part.
That's smart.
Yeah. Physical activities tend to wear on you, like when you're older, like now.
Self-preservation.
Jared speaking from experience.
Yes. 300-pound lineman at age 42. Oh, I feel so good. My hips love me. You ever pull your back out, picking up an empty cardboard box, and you're like, oh, fantastic. Good reminder I'm old and withering away.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
All right. So you limped through high school with Harley there, weren't missed. Did you end up going to trade school, college, any silliness like that?
So my last year of high school,
no judgment here, by the way. No judgment.
Hey, no, man. My last year of high school, I did a co-op at a radio station. I remember it well. My teacher came to me and told me that I had got in. This was before the semester started. They came to me over the summer and they wanted to let me know that starting in September, I was going to get into this radio station. And at the time they told me what it was, and it was about 45 minutes away from where I live. So it was kind of a far drive, but I found out that it was a country station, and there was no way in God's green earth that I was going to go work at a country station. So I legitimately started calling all the other radio stations within like an hour's drive of my house, which there was quite a few. And I'm like, please, for the love of cheese, take me. Don't make me go listen to country radio in my high school, my high school year. Ultimately, nobody took me. And so I did end up going to that country music radio station. And I would say probably within about 2 weeks, I was a hardcore country music fan, legitimately. I was like buying CDs and everything. It was crazy.
Don't break my heart. Dude, did you have a mullet? Tell me you had a mullet.
I was like, I'm talking like, so this would have been 1995. So like right in the thick of like that new country
Dark
era,
Brooks.
New country at the time, right?
The dream is like a river.
That's right. That's what it was. I still, to this day, I'm still bitter because they offered me tickets to Tim McGraw, Faith Hill, but the concert was in Buffalo, New York. And at the time I was like 18. I just started, I was barely had my license or whatever. And my dad would not let me drive across the border to go see the concert. And I'm still bitter to this day about that. But I did two semesters of co-op then at this radio station. My obligation was like 2 or 3 hours a day, but I was working like 6 or 8 hours a day. I was showing up at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning to help prep the morning show and stuff like that. They told me when I got to the co-op, they said, what is your expectation? And I said, I want to get on the air. And they said, well, we'll tell you right now, that doesn't happen. We don't put co-op students on the air ever. Within probably about a month, I think I was recording commercials for them. And before long, I was board opping. And then I actually did end up doing some fill-ins on weekends. And I even filled in on the morning show at one point. So that was pretty cool. So then after that ended, that was my final year of high school. So that ended in June. And then I applied to school. I applied to the British Columbia Institute of Technology, which I was told was supposed to be one of the finest broadcasting schools in Canada. And I got accepted. But shortly after I got accepted, I actually got offered a radio job full time for a station not too far from where I lived. And so I had to make the very difficult decision. Do I go into radio and be broke, or do I go to school to learn how to do radio and be broke? And I decided I would just go into radio and be broke. And so now I'm legit uneducated bum, right? Like I barely went to high school and I never went to college either. Yeah.
Like in that gets kind of like the board game life. You were like, you can go to college or you can drive that car straight over here and start paying bills. Meep, meep, get the hell out of the way.
Yeah. Straight over
That's
the
great.
pedestrians.
Oh Lord.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So how did you get into so you got into the radio station, but how did you get into voiceover and that, so the whole business of that?
So it's one of those things where
I got to hear this. This has got to be good.
When you do radio, part of your obligation is to do production, or at least every station I worked at, right? You came in half an hour before your shift. They handed you a stack of spots. You rip and read. You're in, you're out, you're done, right? So in that sense, I had been doing it all along. It was the very first thing I did in radio was commercials for the station that I was a high school co-op student at. After a few years in radio, I flipped over to television for a while, and I did some work in television, hosting some shows in television, and people would reach out to me every once in a while and be like, hey, can you voice this? Hey, can you voice this? And I didn't really know what, like, I don't know. I didn't know what voiceover was. I thought it was just part of being on radio or TV or whatever, right? So when I'm trying to think, it probably would have been like early 2000s, somewhere in there, when I finally started to figure out, oh, wait a minute, like people actually get paid money just to do this side of things. And so I started working some of my connections, and, you know, I was just doing little jobs here and there for some people that I had connections with through the broadcast industry and stuff like that. I didn't really start to figure out that there was something to the voiceover side of things until, I don't know, it's probably around 2006, 7, 8, somewhere in there, that's when I first discovered a couple of the casting sites. And then I was like, oh, hey, I can make as much money in a week doing voiceover as I can make in a month doing radio. Maybe I need to dig into this a little bit deeper.
I see.
I believe that was a smart choice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it worked out ultimately.
Well, you're obviously a man who loves a challenge. I've been following you, you know, like on the Facebook and everything for years. And when you decided to do all the renovations, you were like, I am all that is man, and I shall conquer the things that I can conquer.
That's right.
That was awesome, dude. The way you took that project on, and just watching kind of like you and your attitude and your family, like everything kind of grow and progress. That was really cool to see from afar. But it kind of sucked because I was like, I want to go play with Mark. He's got all these fancy new tools, and it's not a beat up look. The job site is actually clean. This is a safe place to work.
I don't need no inspectors coming and shutting me down.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not stepping on nails.
That's right.
It's too funny.
That is. So, did you end up going to like training, like any kind of coaching or any path like that? Did you have anybody you looked up to or kind of helped you out with the finer things of voiceover? Did you kind of navigate your own path?
The last radio station that I worked at, they had a couple of really great producers. It was a cluster of stations, and they were doing a lot of production for different formats and stuff like that. And it was the first time that I had ever done production sessions in radio where they didn't just take the first take. Like my entire career up to that point, it literally was rip and read, right? You came, and as long as you didn't stumble, they kept the first take. Now, that was partly because we were recording on reel to reel for most of that time, and nobody wanted to go back and do it over again. But yeah, the last station I was at, I actually started working with a couple of producers who made me try different things and actually started to pull some different reads out of me, which was very eye-opening for me as well. So that was certainly part of the journey, I think. In the early days of the casting sites, I know voiceover's been around forever, but the casting sites, when they first started up, I think maybe at that point being in radio was advantageous because you had like the big voice that stood out or whatever. Mm-hmm. So you didn't really have to, there wasn't a lot of voice acting per se, or at least I didn't see a lot of it. So I was able to get away with it. As my career developed, I started attending voiceover conferences and things like everybody else does. And then I have ended up ultimately working with some really amazing coaches along the way who have been mentors and friends and guides. Like Roy Okelson was probably Uncle Roy. He was probably the first guy that I ever did any kind of coaching with. And I credit him for a lot of helping me develop beyond, like, next leveling me kind of. And so working with him was amazing. Ann Ganguza, I worked with her and she was really good for me. Everett Oliver, Dave Walsh. I'm working with Tom Pinto right now. That guy is just like my hero. Like I if I could work with him like every week for the rest of my life, I would book him if I could afford it, but he's so good. So, you know, I continue to be a work in progress for sure.
Yeah.
That's important. A lot of people try to rush and rush and rush, and I see it every day. And I think it's been commented before on like Villarpreneur, where they're like, okay, I've got my website and I've got this, and I need to go ahead and get my demo. And I think Armin chimed in too at one point. He was like, is everybody forgetting, like, are you good at your craft yet? Like, have you studied your craft? Have you done anything to consolidate you it's voice acting. It's called acting for a reason. You have to connect to the copy at some point. You can't just get in there, because it's happened to me. We've talked about this before on the show. People go, oh, I could do that. And you put them in the booth. The red ball bounced slowly down it's like, yeah, dude, that was so much emotion and feeling. Hell yeah, let's rock that. It's like, no,
you know,
nailed it.
If I had to go back, if I had the opportunity to go back, I would have started with coaching a lot sooner. And it's honestly one of those things where you don't know what you don't know. And when I was getting started, all I knew of voiceover was that there were some casting sites that posted auditions and I could record them and I could book them. And that was, in the beginning, that was the extent of what I knew. And I think one of the reasons why I give so much now through my podcast, my Facebook group, you know, I did a blog for years. It's because I want to help people jump that learning curve, because they don't know what they don't know, just like I did, right? I would have started with Uncle Roy in 2005 instead of 2016 type deal, right?
People look at me crazy because that's the little saying that I use. I say, hey, man, I could save you 3 years in the wrong direction. They're like, what? I'm like, oh, dude, you take the wrong turn in this business, you'll be down that road for a minute. There's plenty of people that, oh, you got money? Oh, thank you. Oh,
Yep.
thank you.
We
Oh,
see it
thank you.
time.
All the
Yep.
time.
Mm-mm.
So you got to vet people. So I love that you do that. That's one thing me and Steven were talking about earlier. I love that you do that with the Villarpreneur. That's that's my angry word today. Panure.
I will always be a champion for people in this industry that I believe are legit, that can actually help people to develop something. Because the other thing I know is voiceover was life-changing for me, right? Like, I know that I can make in a couple weeks what I used to make in a year doing radio. Like, I've gotten to that point in my business now, and that is life-changing, right? And
Yeah.
so if I can help other people to experience that, because I know what that's done for me and my family, then I will keep doing the podcast. I will keep running the group. I'll keep doing Free Advice Fridays. And I will always be a champion for the coaches, the producers, the mentors, like the good, legit people that I know that helped me get there, that can help other people get there. And hopefully the more light that I can shine on those ones, the less light that gets shown on the ones that are a little more sketchy, let's say.
Come join my group and page to let me coach you. Thank you. That's it. Nope. You can't post here. Nope. You can't say that here. Nope. You can't have an opinion. I love those things.
Yeah, there's a lot of those groups out there, but your group tends to be very supportive and giving, which is what this industry has been all about, really.
Yep.
It's been my experience. My real experience with everybody is everybody's pretty giving. It's the only industry that I know that they'll go, well, I'm not perfect for it, but Mark and Steven are amazing. You should call them.
Yep.
Never ever was I in the construction industry. And you're like, well, you know, Billy Bob's a hell of a painter, but this guy over here, he does sheetrock. You know, old Moses, man, he gets it done. He part that some, you know, he good. They don't do that. You don't share money, but people share money. They share talent. They share knowledge. It's stupid how unique. It's not stupid. It's stupid in a crazy way how unique this business actually is when it comes down to the people.
Yeah, it is unlike any other industry that I've worked in. That's for sure.
And what's your main business? I mean, what do you focus on mainly?
From like, we talking like voiceover, like genres and stuff like that, or
I mean, you do a lot, but I'm just curious about what's your mainstay? Like, what's your go-to? This is what I do to make my money.
I would say probably a lot of non-broadcast stuff, a lot of e-learning and explainers and things of that nature. It's always fun because you walk into the barbershop and, you go into the barbershop for the first time and like, oh, so, hey, what do you do? I'm a voice actor. Oh, voice actor. What's a voice actor? I'm like, well, I do voiceover for videos and commercials and things like that. And like, oh, what have I heard you on? I'm like, absolutely nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless you sat through the sales training for such and such a company, you have heard me on absolutely. And then it's like such a big letdown, right? Like they're expecting to be like, oh yeah, I was like, Lightning McQueen in a Disney Cars movie or something.
Like,
no,
you're like, no,
you've not heard me on it. Did you see the explainer video for the what? And so that's when the kind of the that's how I stay humble, right?
Have you ever put
stay humble by telling people what I do.
Have you ever put together a Huffy bike? Well, that's the video I did. So, yeah.
Yeah. One of these days, if I ever get a legit credit, that's when I'm going to be in trouble because I'm sure that's when my ego will explode. But up to this point, that's what keeps me humble. What have I heard you on? Nothing. You've never heard my voice.
When they listen to your demo and they go, oh, yeah, I've heard all these commercials. And you're like, what? No, those are not real. Those, okay, sure.
You can do that?
Yep.
You can do that. They paid you? No, I paid someone.
Like one of those things everybody else started doing, and there was like,
That's the thing. Like radio is kind of dying, and everybody's getting, laid off, and everybody thinks they can just jump right into voiceover, which you talked about earlier. Which I find is interesting because a lot of people are like, I have my desk set up. It's like, man, that's not a voiceover setup. That's like a radio setup. Like that's not going to work for voiceover. They're like trying to apply it, and it's not really working out.
What are you talking about? You mean that when I started doing voiceover and I had an EV RE20 in my home studio, are you telling me that was the right microphone? I don't understand.
What's the problem here?
Blue Yeti victim.
And I legit had I still have that RE20 somewhere. My 8-year-old runs around the house and plays with it now. I still, that was like, I don't know. Again, didn't know what I didn't know. Well, if this microphone's good enough for the radio stations, every radio station I ever worked at, then it must be fine for a voiceover studio. Little did I know that it is like genuinely considered to be one of the worst voiceover microphones in the history of sound recording. But hey, live and learn. I got the Neumann now. I'm legit now.
Exactly.
Even if I'm not, as long as I tell people I got the Neumann, they're like, "Oh, you must be a big deal."
Yeah, you got the Neumann. No, no more words need to be said.
I got the 416 too, right? Neumann. I got the Neumann and the 416, so that's like double legit.
I got like the 230 seconds. I don't have a 416. That's like halfway.
Yeah, we're not there yet. We'll get there one of these days.
But I do have all the best budget mic. It seems like I, with Steven, has jumped in with every single mic that was amazing for like the best. Like I grabbed a Stellar X2 and it was $100 something bucks. So like cheap, not like $100, $200, $300, $400.
Right.
I got the King B when it was $100.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
That just makes you smarter than most of the rest of us who are out there buying the most expensive microphones, thinking that's going to make us better. Right? What do you mean I don't sound good? I got a Neumann, for crying out loud.
My family told me I was talented.
What? I have to be. I don't have to be conversational. I have a Neumann.
Trying to discuss conversation with somebody, like I really find myself, I'm like, dude, could you act for a little while like you don't care about talking to me? He's like, oh, I'm like, see, so much better.
Conversational, instant.
Oh, Lord,
just don't care about what you're saying.
Well, I'm going to go into a subject that I love, and that's food. And I know you love food because, like I said, kind of stalk you, especially when you're smoking meat. And let's just thank the Lord that God has blessed him with the ability to grill. So I want to dive into that, dude. How did the love of smoked meat start, and just the grilling? And it's something new every day.
I honestly, the whole smoker thing was just one of those. Every once in a while, just a random idea pops into my head, and then I just go
smoke it,
do it. And so
that sounded bad.
It was literally just one of those days when I was like, man, I think that it would be fun to have a smoker. Maybe I should go buy a smoker. And so I found one that I liked that was on sale in a flyer, and I called about 40 different stores to try to find the one that had it in stock. When I finally found the one that had it in stock, I was like, put my name on it. I'm an hour and a half away. I'm coming. I will be there. And I went and picked it up, and that was literally, it was one of those things. It was just kind of like a whim, like, geez, I think smoking meat might be fun, and this might be a good way to start. And then the other thing too for me was I lived in an apartment for about 10 years, which is the worst thing in the world.
You couldn't grill.
It's the worst thing in the world. And I could never have anybody over. The apartment's too small. There's no yard. You can't do anything, right? And so when I got married and my wife and I bought the house that we're in right now, the house was so bad. Oh, good Lord. The house was so bad. My wife wouldn't even come in when we came for the original showing. She didn't even want to get out of the car. It was that bad. But I was like, okay, I know the house is bad. I can fix that.
Good bones.
But the yard, I can't get this yard anywhere else. And we had this huge backyard. We're on like almost 3/4 of an acre in town.
Nice.
And I was like making up for lost time, like 10 years of never being able to have anybody over. All of a sudden it was like every weekend I've got family, and we're just like, I'm cooking for like 20 people or whatever. And so the smoker just felt like, hey, like a brisket, if I get a big brisket, that'll feed a lot of people. Or if I do a bunch of racks of ribs, or, if I smoke a couple pork butts, that'll feed a lot of people or whatever. And so it just kind of went from there. And then I got it, the next thing I got it in my head was I got to have a cast iron cauldron, because I got to be able to do like crawfish boils over live fire. And so I go on the internet and I'm Googling, and I find some guy that goes around to like medieval fairs. He's like one of those guys that does reenactments or whatever, but he's like legit old school blacksmith. And I'm like, can you make me a cast iron cauldron? And so he did. So I got like this custom made cast iron cauldron. So now it's like smoked meats and seafood boils. That's what goes on in my backyard. And now it's killing me because we haven't been able to do it. Like we couldn't do it last summer. We're still locked down here in Canada now. So I'm like, I'm telling you, if this lockdown ever ends in Canada, and at this point I'm not convinced it ever will, I'm going to smoke all the freaking meat. I mean, all the meat. It's going to be so disgusting and so beyond rational, but I'm legit, like I'm smoking all the meat.
You can put
where'd all the caribou go? And there's no more caribou.
In the smoker.
Did anyone tell him?
Right.
He didn't give a damn.
Yeah, all of it. It's going in the smoker, and
that's awesome.
It's going in the cauldron, whatever. I'm gonna, like, every person I've ever known in my life, I'm like, come to my house immediately. I will feed you. Got to make up for 2 years of lost time.
We can put whole corn in there. Would keep the husks on it and just put them right in the smoker.
There you go.
Killer. Real good.
Corn.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's just one of those things where I don't know if you guys have ever heard of what's it called? Man Food Fire. It's like a Food Network show. Roger Moo King, who's actually a celebrity chef from Toronto, but he goes all over Canada and the United States just finding guys that do barbecue. And it could be like barbecue restaurants, or it could be just like, locals that he's heard of that do really great barbecue.
Guy grilling on a shopping cart.
And they just do, and so then you watch that show, and then it's like, man, I got to try that, or I got to try that. I got to try one of these things or whatever. And so that kind of, has grown my love and appreciation for making good food. And then the other thing too is when I travel for work, which I also haven't been able to do for 2 years, the first thing I do is I figure out where the closest seafood restaurant or the closest barbecue restaurant is. And that's like the destination. So like the fact that One Voice is happening in Dallas here in August, and I can't come because we're still locked down and the borders are still closed. And it is killing me that I cannot. I would have stretched that trip out about 4 days on either side, and every day would have been a different barbecue joint. And I'm just like, it's killing me that I can't do it. So I'm a bit of a foodie, I guess, but not like fancy. I'm not sophisticated enough for J. Michael level stuff. Yeah, I'm like, get me down and dirty with the barbecue and the seafood boil, and I'll eat it with my hands.
Drive-ins and dine.
I'm not a pet of 4 guy. I'm more like a pet of 6 guy, pet of 7 guy. I need more. Yeah, I need to consume more. Yes, I need like the double cheeseburger with the baked potato. You ever had Carolina hash?
Have not.
Good. It's like a barbecue rice mixture. It's very awesome.
Oh, that sounds good.
But we'll move on from food because we'll be here all day talking. Jared.
That's true. We would be here all day. Do you ever so do you coaching? Do you coach people?
That was rather serendipitous, I think, is probably the best way to describe it, because I never got into this with any intention of coaching, but I have come to realize that it is absolutely a passion for me. When I used to be a firefighter, I was a firefighter for 17 years, and my ultimate goal that I was working towards in the fire department was to be a training officer, because I just loved teaching firefighters, and I would teach at rookie school, and I would teach at the fire school, and I would teach within our station on certain training nights and stuff like that. I love doing it. And when I had to leave the fire department because we bought a house in a different town and had to move away, that was like, it left a huge void for me. And I think coaching has ended up filling that void in a way that I hadn't expected. And the reality is, we talked about this a bit earlier, but most voice actors that are coming into this are coming from a creative space, but the industry has changed so much that they don't realize you have to know how to run a business now. The Don LaFontaine riding in the back of the limo to the sessions that your agent booked you, and you just walk in and talk and then, go home and cash the check like that. I'm not saying it's gone, but it is definitely the exception rather than the rule at this point. And so it opened up a unique space for me, because whereas most people are operating from the creative side of their brain and they have to figure out the business side, I actually operate from the business side of my brain. I've had to figure out the creative side. And so as long as voice actors continue to be creatives who don't get business naturally, there will be an opportunity for me to come in and guide them and help them jump learning curves and help them avoid mistakes and hopefully help them make and save money as well.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like the whole kind of voiceover has kind of changed the whole business of it. Then instead of just like you said, you're not rolling into a studio and sitting reading your lines and walking out. You have to be responsible for your own marketing and your own recording and editing and sounding good and all that. There's a lot to learn.
I'm one of those examples. I talked about that before. I thought I was going to walk in and be like, wait till they get a load of me. And they're like, oh, I got to learn stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks. Oh, responsibility. How do you spell that?
Yeah, it is the unexpected side of the industry that at the point that I was coming up, there wasn't really anybody that was talking about it. And so I kind of had a little bit of a niche market thing going on. Now everybody and their grandma is a business and marketing coach, which is cool. I'm not worried about it. I know that I've got something of value to offer, but I'm just glad that people are learning it. Like, I'm glad that it's finally being recognized that, hey, this is a really important piece of the puzzle. Like, I love that we have a conference now, the Vocation Conference. I love that we have a conference that is focused on the business and marketing side of voiceover. Like, yeah, you can go to VO Atlanta and you can take some business and marketing classes, and that's really cool. But now we got a whole conference that's just like, look, this is a business and you need to know how to run a business. And I think that is a great acknowledgement at how the industry is shifting.
Yeah. Because, you're responsible for your demos, your marketing, your website. There's just so many different avenues.
You got to know customer service. You got to be able to do basic accounting. You got to understand taxes and finances and all of that sort of stuff. Running a CRM, and the first question is like, what the heck is a CRM? Like, all this stuff, it's important and it matters to your business now.
Yeah. It's a bit daunting, as they might say.
Well, see, that's what gets a lot of people too, is that people aren't honest with them. They're like, oh, you need your demo. Like we were talking about, you need your demo, you need this. And they'll be like, oh, by the way, you need this. Like you said, your CRM, do you have your branding? Okay, what is your branding? Have you given any thought? Oh, no. Okay, we got to do that. And by the time you get into it and you spent money in the wrong direction, somebody throws 10 to 12 to 25,000 things on you. They're like, whoa. And you feel so buried. It's hard to get up out of that once you're like, well, why the hell didn't anyone tell me?
One of the best things that I ever did for my voiceover business was take a college, like night school. It was an online course, but introduction to entrepreneurship class. That was one of the smartest things that I ever did for my voiceover business, was just figuring that out. And, I went to a marketing conference in Nashville a couple of years ago and spent a fortune to go there, but made that money back so quickly, and everything that I learned, right? Where I think that's one of the pieces of advice that I give to people is, study entrepreneurship, just as much as you study voiceover, right? Like you've got to study the craft. You have to know what you're doing when you get in the booth. You have to be able to deliver. But the other side of it is you got to be able to run a business. And so study entrepreneurship. There's 1,000 voiceover podcasts, and there's 1,000 voiceover blogs, and there's all kinds of voiceover conferences, and they're all fantastic. And you're going to learn something from every one of them. But have you ever thought about picking up a book on entrepreneurship? Have you ever thought about taking a night school course or an online class in marketing? Have you ever thought about attending a marketing and business conference and learning that side of things? Because that will have just as much of an impact on your income trajectory as working with, a brilliant coach like Tom Pinto or Jay Michael or Ann Gangoose or whoever.
That'll get you down the road a lot farther for sure. Yeah, because you can spin your wheels in this business and not go anywhere for a long time. And, for some people, it takes, a long time to set up, many years until they're actually, start making money, any kind of money in voiceover. So it can be a long road.
Yep.
Don't make those pitfalls.
That's right.
Make sure you get in contact with people like Marc Scott that can help you.
Help you skip the learning curve.
Right?
Well, I mean, vet the people you're going to work with. That's pretty simple. Like, it doesn't take me. Google them. Look into it. It's not that hard.
It's not that hard. Yeah, the information is out there. People act like it's really hard, but
if it sounds too good to be true, it absolutely is. I mean, even with the marketing classes and the coaching that I do, like I tell people, look, I was 4 years of working my tail off before I started seeing real results. Like 4 years of 7 days a week of 12, 14, 16 hours a day. Like I worked hard. And anybody that's out there that's telling you that, once you get the demo and sign up for my package, you're going to make $100,000 a year in voiceover. Like these guys are con artists. They're not coaches. You got to watch out for them.
I didn't shave today, and I probably look like I stink like animal urine, but hey, you can make 6 figures by listening to me.
That's right.
I know who you're talking about. I'm just kidding. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we're not talking about anyone is what we're not talking about.
Hey, everybody
there are
relax.
people.
These are jokes.
That's right. Here's the libel case.
No, but people fall for that crap every day. And
they do.
Like, when you start educating them on how the business actually works, they're like, what? I can't be on Fiverr. I'm like, you could do whatever you want. But if you want to be taken seriously and be at this level, there's certain ways you got to get there. It's kind of like, I believe it was Mario Filio said, I believe it was him. He said, if you start off as the cheap actor, that's how they will always remember you, as the cheap actor. So even if you do get better and you're the baddest thing that ever walked, you're still a cheap actor. You're still the one that we were doing for $100. So your value's just not there.
Yep. So true.
Wise words, my friends. So you don't go to the conferences? You don't do like the VO Atlanta or any of those sort of conferences?
Hasn't been able to.
I haven't been able to. Yeah, I do the conference. I love the conferences. Man, the Canadian Revenue Agency made a killing off of me in 2020 because I had no conferences to go to. So I lost all of my major write-offs for the year for my business because I cannot wait. And I talk all the time about the fact, like, I am a hardcore introvert, right? I am borderline hermit. I cannot wait to get into a conference filled with 700 voice actors and just see people and shake hands. And it has been a long lockdown here in Canada. It is just stupid.
That's where I met this guy, VO Atlanta 2019.
I know he does the splits and then
he
everybody
does the splits. And then everyone's your friend.
And
you do the
like,
splits.
what?
Hey guys, have you seen the big bald Kung Fu Panda guy? Yeah, he's got a horrible mouth, but he's funny as I'm just
that's like that's part of the draw of VO Atlanta is people are picking out their course that they're going to take, and then they're also trying to make sure that it's going to be there and that they're going to get to see him do the splits at some point. I mean, that's a big part of what brings me down.
That's why you got to.
One of the most embarrassing things, but it's rang true. A lot of the biggest names that I know in this industry, I have met completely organically, didn't know who the hell they were, and I was just being myself, and usually it involves cocktails and doing ridiculous physical activities.
The splits.
It's like that's how I met Armin outside at the first one of my first VO Atlantas. Stayed out there for like 2 hours.
I got Joe Cipriano on my speed dial now because this one night I had a drink and did the splits.
Yeah, right. And he was my friend forevermore. That's what happened.
I wish it wasn't true, but it is.
It is. I mean,
whatever you can do to be memorable, I guess.
You got to be known for something, right?
Right?
That's a good way to make yourself stick out from the crowd. I tell you, I did the splits. The only person we'd be speed dialing is 911. So
were you at
They all
Villar?
looked photoshopped.
Did you go to Villar at all, like 2018, 2019?
yeah, I was I've been a presenter at VO Atlanta now. I think I was there every year. I think I've done every year since 2016. Maybe was my first year. So it's been good. And that was the first. I think maybe I went to maybe Wovo was the first conference that I ever went to. I go to all of them now. The only one I haven't been able to go to now is Vocation, just because stupid pandemic. They've asked me actually to keynote that conference, and I haven't been able to do it because of the stinking pandemic.
Yeah, it's still closed off right at the border.
Yep. So
Yeah.
2022, I'll tell you what, if they decide to set us free up here, I'm still not convinced they will, but if there's a voiceover conference happening somewhere in 2022, I will be at every stinking one of them because I just miss everybody's faces. I just want to go and see some people.
Oh, I'm a hug Mark.
That's right. While he's doing the splits, just don't try to pull me down.
While he's doing this,
you will break me.
I'm a very gentle person.
He can break you very easily.
I got a ridiculous question. I want to know if you could have a pick of any superpower in the entire universe, what would your superpower be?
I can have my pick of any superpower. What would it be? There's a part of me that wants to say that I'd love to be able to read minds because it would make me a better marketer, but then that would sound all dirty and nobody would trust me anymore. So
I don't know if you could tell people that you could read their minds. That's the thing. You got to keep that a secret.
You know what? I'm not a big superhero guy, but it's always been Superman for me. So I gotta be able to fly.
Nice.
Up and away.
That's it. That's the only one. I don't do them like the Marvel universe. I don't know anything about it. I was never
I'm the same way.
Batman, nothing.
I'm the same way.
Brisket, you're glazing it. Boom. The glaze is done. So it's a double positive. It's good for everyone.
That's right. It's Superman was always it for me. So that would be the one, I guess.
Completely acceptable answer.
Unless, I mean, I did watch Iron Man, and if being as rich as Iron Man was a superpower, I don't know, does that count as a superpower? Because really, that's the only thing he did was he was rich.
Let's ask Bezos.
That allowed him to build the suit.
I mean,
but
Batman
really,
was the same way, right? He was just rich. He didn't really have a superpower.
So if that's a superpower, I changed my mind. I want that.
I think
instead.
I think that's a superpower.
You think you can be happy with all that money in your own cave with all the toys you could possibly dream of? Well, I don't know, Chelsea. Let me give it a shot for a little while.
Let me try for a while. See how it goes.
You haven't called me in 5 years. You have reached the wrong number. I am Batman. Does not hear anymore.
I tried poor, but rich was a bit better.
Let me tell you something about being poor. I've never met anyone who's poor who went the other route and goes, oh, I think we need to go back there.
Yeah,
I sure do miss other meats than bologna.
All these things, what do we need these things for? We live out in the streets like we used to.
Y'all don't eat the ends of the bread loaf? Well, aren't y'all hoity-toity?
That's the measuring stick right there.
Yeah. If you eat the end cap of the bread.
What do they say? Don't be like the butt end because everyone touches it, but nobody wants it.
Oh, man.
Oh, that's horrible. That's awesome.
That's terrible.
Oh, man, I don't know. I mean, I have plenty of crazy questions, but this is probably the part of the show I'd be like, hey, tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, don't
and do the
that
coaching and let us know where they can hug you at.
Is that what you're asking?
Yes, I'm asking him to drop all of his information about his.
That's the part we're at now.
And
is that the part we're at now?
I mean, we can do other things. You guys want to play tic-tac-toe?
What's wrong with you?
I don't know.
We get a few more people and play. I don't know.
Sure, Hollywood Squares.
Yeah, exactly. Hollywood Squares.
We could do Oprah.
No, I did have one question before you start giving your information. I have one more question.
All right, let's do it.
It's a good one.
Okay.
It's not really a question, but can you?
I'm ready.
Here we go. I'll just let it spin. So we usually ask whoever is a guest on to provide some sort of advice for people starting out. What's the best thing you could tell them that if they're just starting out in voiceover, what the hell do I do?
Be careful who your teachers are. That is, and I mean, I cannot express to you how essential that is, because a YouTube channel does not a coach make. The problem that we have run into now is that this is where I'm going to end up getting like cancel cultured or something, but social media has given everybody the opportunity to have a platform, including a lot of people who probably shouldn't be allowed to have a platform. And they are the ones that are the predators that are out there that are happy to take your money for little to nothing in exchange. And I cannot tell you how many sessions that I have done with voice actors. Like I'll do 15-minute consults with voice actors, and I cannot tell you how many I have done with people who have dropped $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 down the wrong path because they fell in with the wrong person, because they looked legitimate, because they had a YouTube channel, or because they had a following on Twitter or something like that. And man, $5,000 is a crap ton of money, right? Like you don't just make that back, especially when you're trying to start a business. And it kills me when I hear stuff like this, which again is one of the reasons why I have been so vocal in the past. I've gotten myself in trouble in the past. Like I've made lists of, here's a list of vetted coaches, here's a list of vetted producers. And I've gotten in a lot of crap for that in the past because certain people didn't get on it. But I'm like, dude, you're not on it because you shouldn't be. And,
but
and they're like, well, who are you to make that decision? I'm like, well, my list, my rules, I guess. I don't know. But that's one of the reasons why I started offering the 15-minute consults. I would rather give somebody 15 minutes of my time and to be able to steer them away from a bad teacher to a good one than have them come to me later on down the road when they've got crappy demos that are unmarketable and they want to book me for a session. And I have to tell them, I can't help you because you've got nothing to work with. Like that feeling makes me sick to my stomach. And so honestly, it is be careful who your teachers are. Just because somebody creates the perception of legitimacy or professionalism, you need to vet them. And even that is becoming hard now because so many of them have created their little disciples that, you're trying to vet them by getting testimonials or legitimate experiences or whatever. And you can't even get that information hardly anymore.
It's like following by a bunch of lemmings. Like if they jumped off, they would literally follow them anywhere they go. And you can't talk to them because you're like, oh, but you don't know what you're talking about. They're the Messiah voiceover. Well, what have they done? Where's their work at? Well, it's coming.
There's a Messiah voiceover, and now they're selling insurance. Like, what are we doing this week, right? Like, so yeah, be careful who your teachers are, and don't be afraid to ask questions and get references. And if you ever reach out to a coach, a producer, whatever, and you ask them for some legitimate references, or you ask them for some names and emails or whatever, and if they give you any pushback, that is immediately your first red flag. You do not want to go any further with them. But you've got to do a little bit of research before you drop the dollars. This is, we talk about running a business, right? You're the CEO of your company. It is up to you to wisely invest your company's capital. And part of wisely investing your company's capital is making sure that you are giving it to coaches, producers, whoever that are actually going to be able to point you in the right direction.
Yeah. And I think I want to add that if coaches aren't vetting their students, then that might be a red flag too. If they're just taking anybody, then they're just taking your money. And if they're not giving you an honest opinion about, your talent and what you have or what you don't have.
I do these 15-minute consults with people, and I probably turn away 80% of them. I'm like, you're not ready yet. I can't help you. It wouldn't be right for me to take your money at this point. And I know not everybody's like that, but I don't know. I was raised as a good Christian boy. That's the way I roll. But I know there are other coaches that are out there that do the same thing. They offer those 15-minute consults because they want to make sure. I mean, hey, my reputation's on the line too, right? If I just take your money and tell you I'm going to teach you how to market, but you don't have the tools and the equipment to go and market with, and you start talking smack about me on the internet, that doesn't do me any good either, right? So I'm doing both of us a favor when I'm saying no. I'm trying to protect you and get you ready, but I also am trying to maintain. I've worked really hard to build my reputation in this industry, and I don't want to mess it up. It's not, I'm not interested in selling coaching and selling courses. I'm interested in building careers, but I can only do that with you if you're ready.
That's smart.
Ooh, you heard that here first.
I know.
You better listen.
That's the information I was looking to get.
No, but that's what we want here. That's why we believe our show is a little bit different. You know, like I was saying before, we don't just ask the same.
Oh, well, what kind of microphone do you have? What's your interface? And what's, oh my God, that's great.
No, man, the hell with that. Everybody's walk is different. Everybody's experience is different. And literally, then we get gyms like this where somebody who teaches it comes in, will drop a huge bomb of knowledge on you, and we get to discuss it for a few minutes. Where are you going to connect with that kind of thing? You know, it's just like find these people who really give a crap about your time, because you'll never get it back.
Yep.
So anytime they can save you, like I was telling you, I'll say, I'll save you 3 years in the wrong direction. That's not a joke, man. Find these people, they will save you time, years. So
that's part of what made me a good coach, was 4 years of doing everything wrong and figuring out the hard way that I was doing everything wrong. And as I documented my journey of learning how to start doing things right, that was what my blog was. And that's when people started reaching out to me and asking me for advice. Like, I never set out to become a coach. The market kind of dictated it when people started coming and asking for advice. And now I recognize that I do have something to offer, because look, once upon a time I was an idiot and I did everything wrong. And so let me just save you that part of the voiceover journey. I would really like to save you that part of the voiceover journey.
Yeah. Well, that's a great service that you're providing, for sure. Because there are a lot of pitfalls, like we already discussed.
It's true. I mean, hey, you can still make legitimate money in this industry. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But there are right paths to follow to get there, and right people that will help you get there sooner.
Yeah, what's interesting about this show is that everybody has a different story. I mean, there's nobody that has the same story. Everybody had, I went here, and then I went here, and then it followed me down here, and boom, I ended up here. It's like, wow.
I'm still trying to figure out how to be Casey Kasem and just only work 4 hours a week, but I haven't got there yet. But that's still part of my story, man. I'm still working on writing that one.
Yeah, with that new little edition you got, the little boo, should I call it the boo edition? You can forget about sleeping, any time off. Look how much he smiles when you say it too. That lets me know that, dude.
He's on the right path.
It's like retirement is never gonna happen now, because by the time she's 18 and college is $1 billion a year, I'm gonna be working like crazy hours for the rest of my life.
Daddy's in the backyard smoking the meats.
Oh, all right. Who got the Cornish biscuit, eh? All right. Don't let Jared in, no.
That's gonna be the next thing, eh? I'm gonna be doing voiceover as a talent. I'm going to be doing the voiceover business coaching, and I'm going to have to turn all the smoked meats into some sort of side hustle as well, because the boo needs to go to college. So
BO Barbecue, put the echoes of taste in your mouth.
There you go. We're already developing the brand,
right? There's sauce in there, a little saucy. Well, now is the time of the episode to drop all the knowledge of where they can find you.
Now is the time.
Where they can hug you. And he's going to be at every conference. So if you're going to a conference, he's going to be there, period. So don't worry about that.
Look for him.
Man, if they let us out, I'm telling you, 2022, I will be everywhere. Whether they want me or not, I will just show up.
Marc Scott will be invading the US
right.
and the territories.
I am coming.
I don't know why, but I just envisioned you with like the hair metal bandana and the leotard kicking in the door. I'm here to party.
Woo, woo, woo.
I cannot wait. I miss airports and airplanes so bad.
That's silly.
Oh my gosh.
I can't stand it, but it's a necessary evil.
I miss it so bad. I love traveling, and it's killing me right now not being able to. So yeah, next year for sure, if I can, if they ever let us out of lockdown, I will be at every stinking conference, and you are all welcome to come and shake my hand and hug me. And honestly, I don't even care if I get COVID at this point.
Oh, stop it.
I was just like,
let's not be reckless, but you know,
no, I'm serious. I'm like 2 years of living like this. I'm like, I'd rather take my chances with it. I feel like at this point.
Welcome to Marc Scott Voice Over.
We shouldn't be joking about that. But we are.
It's true. We shouldn't. I'll tell you, it's been hard. It has been hard.
It's been hard.
Everybody needs a little Mel Blanc in their life. That's all I'm saying.
Yes, it's true. It is true. Well, now you can. Well, where can we find you? Let's
where can we find me?
Let's hear where people can find you.
MarcScottCoaching.com is the website where I offer private coaching, like one-on-one coaching for business and marketing. And then I've also got some different courses that I offer as well, all business and marketing related. That is it. I Don't come to me for demo critiques or demo production, or don't come to me for performance coaching. I have nothing of value to offer you there, but on the business and marketing side, certainly I can offer some insights. So that's at marcscottcoaching.com. And the VOpreneur podcast is available wherever fine podcasts are given away for free, and at VOpreneur.com as well. And that's just it's just me talking business and marketing stuff, really. It's not the most riveting or exciting podcast because it's just listening to me for whatever, 10, 20, 30, 40
We've
minutes.
seen it, and it's spectacular.
I just try to give good advice. That's it. I'm just trying
I'm
to
on
give some good
episode
advice.
3, so I like it.
Episode 3. You've only got like 105 more to go. That's your
No,
homework assignment for
I'm
the
on
weekend.
episode 3, the one about VO Atlanta. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You were one of the original guests.
No,
on
he's
the-
like, I am on.
Full
That's right.
circle, baby.
Three.
Hey.
That's why I'm here now.
Right.
This is the payback.
Connections, guys. Make connections. Now I know a superstar.
Yes.
This guy does the splits at VO Atlanta, and then I put him on my podcast, and now he's got his own podcast, and now I'm on his podcast. Look at how all because he did the splits at VO Atlanta.
You have
That's
to
where it
write
all
This,
began.
people. You can't write this.
Right.
Yeah.
And you have
This
no
is-
idea who I am, but now we know each other a little better.
What are you gonna do at VO Atlanta? You gonna do like some wall
I don't
handstand
know.
push-ups or
Right?
something, or
I'll hit somebody with a guitar or something. It'll be crazy. Who knows what might happen? Cliff Zellman will have guitar fights or something. Who knows?
there you go.
Well, at least we all have something to look forward to,
It's true.
He's got half of my guitars anyway, so
right?
Cliff.
It is going to be like, you guys know it's going to be crazy when we all get together in the same
Oh,
room again,
no,
right?
it's-
Like, I mean, like when the industry as a whole, when we can all get together in the same room,
It's
finally
gonna
for
be
the
nuts.
first time. It is going
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm really looking forward to it. That way everybody go, oh, Jared was normal. Bunch of judgmental
No,
jerks.
they'll be like, Jared is really like that,
He's going to be policing the room for somebody that's trying to steal the splits gimmick.
Hey,
right?
Hey,
That's my thing. You can't do that.
No, that he tore his pants. That's not Jared.
oh, that was me in 3rd grade. I wore Michael Jackson pants with no underwear, and my mom got called to school to get me. That later.
And in
part
the
is
too
I
much
didn't
information
notice.
category.
That's got to be a sight.
I
Man.
don't know why my brain works the way it was. Well, anyone, that's another episode of VO in Stereo. Mark, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
I'm your host for now until they find a replacement, Jared Breshers.
We're working on it.
And always with me, Stephen Coghill. He's looking. Send your applications in. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Mwah!
Thanks, guys.
Woo!